Hey, just a few weeks ago, I was discussing with a few friends of mine the situation where they still are trying to hire an outsourcing company for software development. We were discussing what type of contract they need to sign in this case, and they were telling me that their management, their company, they require them to sign a so-called fixed price contract with this outsourcing company. And I was telling them that I believe that's a very wrong idea, and I'm decided to record this video to explain to you as well why I think fixed price contracts are completely ineffective in this current financial and economical situation on the market. So basically there are two types of contracts. When you hire someone in software development, there are two types of contracts. The first one is called fixed price, meaning that you hire a company, a team, or a person, and you tell them that this is the scope, this is what needs to be done. And then you ask them to give you the price, or maybe you tell them the price. But the bottom line is that the contract has the price attached to it. So when the scope is completed, then you pay the price to the contractor. The second option is so-called time and material. In this case, you find a company and you tell them, do the job, this is your scope. You can give the scope, or you can tell them that I'm going to tell you later what needs to be done. The bottom line on the contract is that I'm going to pay you for all the expenses that occur during the execution of the contract. Usually it's for the time being, for some specific time period. Let's say I hire you for a year, and during this year I expect you to allocate 3 people or 10 people working for me, and with the computers and with the internet connection and with this amount of resources. So they will work and sit in the office and work for me for the full year, and I am committed to pay you all their salaries, to pay all the office expenses according to this calculation. And we attach this calculation to the contract. What they're gonna do, they will complete the scope or they will not complete the scope, I'm gonna pay them anyway. So these are two types of contracts. The first is fixed price, the second is so-called time and material. I believe that the first one, fixed price, is completely wrong. Why? Even though you know me that I like to pay for the results, I believe that fixed price contract is completely ineffective. Why I think so? Because when you deal with small contracts, with really small amount of work, like micro tasks, then yes, fixed price contracting is a really good approach, because you motivate the contractor, you motivate the implementer, the person who works for you, to do the job, to complete the scope, return it back to you, and pass all the quality checks before you deliver the cash. That's perfectly all right if you do it this way, because the scope is very small and it's technically possible to actually accept the result and reject the result as well. So when the scope is small, you have all the rights, all the moral rights, the possibility to say that no, your work is not accepted, and this rejection is not going to lead to any fatal consequences. So nobody gonna die, nobody gonna ruin the business, nobody go bankrupt. It's not gonna happen. You just say, this is your piece of work for $25, you complete it, I pay you $25. You don't complete it, or I don't like the quality, you just lose $25, and we move to the next step, to another piece of work, to another micro task. That's perfectly all right. When the contract is long and big, like let's say we're gonna pay you $100,000, in this case you don't have the ability to say no when they complete the scope with some, maybe for example, quality problems. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna accept it anyway. Or you're gonna start a war which is gonna be a size of 10 times larger than the cost of the contract. Because in the software development, it's almost impossible to really objectively accept the result or reject the result. For any piece of software, you can say it works, you can say it doesn't work, you can find functional bugs there. As we know, in any piece of software of some decent complexity, reasonable complexity, there is an unlimited or close to unlimited amount of bugs. So it's possible to reject any piece of software, technically. So you will be forced to find a compromise with these people, and that's gonna hurt everybody, them, you, everybody. And if you tell them in the beginning that you will be very tough on accepting their results, then they will spend most of their time, most of their money, which you pay them for actual work, for the development of the code, they will spend on actually protecting themselves. They will write long documents, requirements documents, asking for acceptance tests, designing these acceptance procedures, They're going to put a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of paperwork on top of actual code writing. And in the end, most of your money is going to be burned and going to be spent on something which nobody needs. So they will spend your money to protect themselves against you. That's what's happening. Maybe fixed price contracts are good when the size of the contract is, I don't know, $100 million, for example. In this case, yes, okay, out of this $100 million, we're going to spend a few $1,000,000 on management, on documentation, on requirements analysis, on protecting us against the customer. That's okay. It is possible when we have such a huge budget. But if the budget is less than $1 million, it's completely unreasonable. Time and material system, time and material type of contract is much more effective. You hire these people, they give you the resources, and then you basically say, step aside all your managers, we don't care about you. I just take your resources, I take your team, and then we work together. I tell them what to do. It's my responsibility, my fault if they don't do what I need. If they don't complete the scope, it's my problem because I'm the manager of them. I pay you some margin on top of that. I pay you some fee for the office organization, for the computers you provide, for the taxes you pay, whatever. I pay that fee. But these people are my responsibility. If during this year we work on something and by the end of the year the scope is not complete, it's okay, it's my problem, I'm responsible. This is much more fair allocation of your, much more fair use, much more effective use of your money comparing to fixed price. So every time try to do time and material. It may sound counterintuitive because when you go to the management, the manager will try to tell you that no, we need fixed price because in this case they're responsible. In this case they're going to deliver and we're going to make sure that they deliver. But look the reality in the eye. They will not deliver and you're still going to pay. Unless something really fatal going to happen, like they go bankrupt and deliver you zero, like nothing. They just close their doors and you don't find their address anymore. In this case, yes, you can try to take your money back or not pay them. But otherwise, they're going to finish the work, they will send you all the papers, and you will go to the bank and pay them the money. Otherwise, they will go to court and they will prove that they delivered, blah, 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 and it's going to be a long process and nobody going to win out of this. Instead, use time and material. In this case, you have complete, honest relationship with them. They know that it's you're staying tight with them. All your money are being spent on real resources, on programmers, computers, whatever. In this case, you have much bigger chance of putting your money to the most effective place. So every time, anytime anybody asks me what type of contract, I always say time and material, even though, again, I am in a big favor of micro tasks and paying for results when the scope is small. When the scope is large, no paying for result. It just doesn't work. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.